February 29th, and we are going to start the garden going. As you can see in the background here, I have a lot of dead plants that did not survive the winter. And also, of course, we had a big snow, our big snow for like two days. But I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this soil out. We're gonna replenish it with some new soil, and I'm gonna show you a couple things here. This was the results of the recent winter we had. As you can see, my broccoli is all pretty much died now at this point, but we have cabbage. Our cabbage is still going strong. So we'll probably pick this head right here. That looks pretty good. That one's pretty healthy also. Also still have a little cilantro that survived, and we're gonna harvest some carrots. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, that's a interesting looking carrot. That's one. There we go. So these are nice little carrots that we could use. Nice. So these are, I planted these last year. So we'll plant some more of these here. We got some weird looking carrots, but again, these look great. So we'll put those in a stew. We got some more carrots growing over there, but I'm gonna take all of this dirt out here and we're gonna replace some of it, just a tiny bit of it, with some new soil. Okay, so what I've done here is dug up a little bit of the dirt inside each of my little square foot watering hole there. And what I'm gonna do next is fill that up with good dirt, some mulch, and amend the soil with the mulch and some other garden soil, so we put back some nutrients into the soil, so we'll have a good healthy garden. I'm going to take all that dirt that I took out here and I'm going to transfer it to some other areas. I'm having a raised bed that I'm going to be doing, and also some other areas, so I'll always have good dirt available. Also, I just wanted to show you something real quick. You see here, it's already spring. We got one little asparagus growing. That's not good for a whole lot of meal, but you can see there's another one coming in there too. Okay, so I've kept a couple of these carrots in here to grow a little bit. I've dug a little bit out of the different holes here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this garden soil, and I'm also going to put in some of my compost that I made. So this is composting 101. Putting a lot of stuff in this first video, but just kind of give you an idea, and we'll do a separate video on the composting. These are just egg crates that I put some landscaping material in. Did a video on this last year, and there's 3 of them, and you just put them on top of each other. This is the first one, and this is where you basically put all the kitchen scraps. You see I got eggs, I got banana peels, coffee grounds, onion peels, and just yard waste. That's my fresh bin. I continually put that in there. And then this is the middle bin, and this is where I have the compost is still kind of decomposing. I'll take this out every once in a while. I'll chop it up, put some water in there, put some brown material, which is like usually leaves, that helps it compost a little bit easier. And then this is the finished product pretty much. So this is your compost. This is handmade or homemade compost, and there's still a little tiny bit coarse, but again, this is all things that decomposed, and this is what it looked like maybe a month or 2 months ago. So just kind of rotate these, and you end up getting this compost, and you don't have to pay for it, and you're also helping the Mother Earth. So here's a little trick what I do for my garden. I take these coffee, the Keurig coffee grounds. I'll put one of those in there. That's a good source of nitrogen. I'll usually put 1 handful of my homemade compost, and then I'll take a handful of this dirt, and I'll put that in there, maybe 2 handfuls. and then I go ahead and plant my my plants there once I mix this up pretty well. So that's kind of what I'll do with all of these holes. I'll be planting, actually I went to Home Depot this weekend and got a whole bunch of plants. They were already out, so I thought I'd get a fresh, you know, early start on some of these vegetables that we're going to be planting. So I'll keep you updated on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you how to plant these tomatoes. So what you're going to do, and so these are the Parks Whopper Improved. So these are the big tomatoes, and I got those at the Home Depot. So what you're going to do here is, you see how they're already, these roots are kind of bound already. So the first thing you want to do with your tomato plants is you want to plant them deep. So you're going to take these and just pinch off the pieces of leaves that are coming out, because we're going to plant this deep. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it like that. And then what I also do is I kind of tease these not like nanny boo boo, but I'm teasing these out a little bit, these roots, so that they kind of start to grow a little bit differently, okay, instead of just round and round and round. And so I'll just tease that out just a little bit, so that's a little bit that way they can kind of grow. Okay, so then what I do is, you're going to take this and you're going to put this down deep, and as you can see, it's pretty deep here, and it's going to basically come up. Just go ahead and close that up here, because the stalk actually will tend to make those they have little hairs on them if you see them, and basically what they'll do is those are going to be your roots that are going to come up. So I'm going to fill that up to about right up here with the dirt, so then that way it looks like, so when you have this, so you're going to take this, and I already took the leaves off of this one, you're going to basically, you're taking half to 3/4 of the plant and you're going to bury it. Okay, that's going to allow you to have a good root system and really good growth for your tomato plant. So that's and then make sure that you do label everything so that you know what you're planting. So that's basically how we're doing our tomatoes, and you want to space them enough apart where they're going to have enough air to breathe and be away from everything else. So all right, so there you have it. I've got 7 tomato plants, 2 different varieties of tomatoes, and you can see a different variety of staking. So what I did, this here is literally from a broom. So when you're, or a mop, you know, if you got one of those that are ready to throw away, you can repurpose it and use that as a stake. Of course, I bought some tomato cages. They have these green ones. These are a little bit more flimsy, so that's not probably the best. But again, you have different varieties of how you can stake your tomatoes. And some people might be asking, why am I taking and planting tomatoes and it's February the 28th? Well, that's a good question. The first reason mainly is because I have had issues with the tomato plants in El Paso because it's so doggone hot, and so what happens, they tend to die very well, so they're not very well established by the time I put them in the ground. So what I'm doing this year is I'm trying to experiment a little bit. It's fairly warm. It's been about 75 today, I think, and so what I'm doing is I'm planting these and some peppers a little sooner, and see if we can establish them a little bit better before the real hot weather comes in. The other thing that I'm going to do here in these areas here, and then between the tomato plants, there's some space here, so you want to maximize your space as much as you can back there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plant companion plants. So you can just Google companion plants, and there's several of different types that you can do with your tomato plants. But what I'm going to use for sure in these little spots right here are basil. So I'm going to plant some basil here in those areas, and I'm going to just plant the seeds that I harvested from last year. So we'll plant those basils there, and I'm going to maybe plant some onions in between. Also, that might be a good companion plant. And then I'm going to plant some peppers on the other side here, so we'll show you the final garden. So I have some seeds that I'm going to plant also, but I found these at Home Depot, and again, these are the Big Bertha bell peppers. But a little tip for you guys, if you notice that you have some plants, you get 2 for 1 special here. So you got 2 peppers in the pot. So when you're looking through these pots, of course you want to look for good healthy plants, but you also want to make sure if you can get some that have the 2 plants in them, all you have to just do is separate them, and I'll show you about that. And very simple, and then you got 2 plants instead of the 1. So let me see if I can do this. Basically you're going to take these out very gently, and you can pull the pot out, and again you see how these are kind of wound around, so we're going to separate those. But basically all you're just going to do on these plants is you're just going to pull them apart, and again it's kind of hard to do with the one hand, but you're going to just gently, it's kind of hard with one hand, but again, there you go. Okay, so now I've separated them, and I've got 2 plants, 2 pepper plants that I'm going to plant, and you got the roots and everything is good. Now these pepper plants you want to plant at the same level as where they're at, so you don't want to take these and put these down deep. So now I have my 2 pepper plants in. Again, I'm going to plant a couple more here, but I'm going to use seeds in this area. That way you don't harvest and have 50 million bell peppers, and you can kind of get them at different parts of the season as they're growing up. So there is the start of the garden for 2021.